Well, welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host Trey Holiday, and as you guys can see, we are keeping it digital for you guys. So I gotta throw it on over to my guy, Big O, who is out in the outskirts. Big O, what's up,
Okay,
brother? How are you?
there it is right there. Hey, what's up, Trey Holiday? How you doing?
I'm well, man. In the studio, got my nice lighting today. Thank you very much, brother. I'm doing good.
Yeah, we had to keep it equal access, equal opportunity, man. I can't be the one hogging all the good light.
Appreciate that, my friend.
And
Anytime.
by the way, you're looking spectacular underneath those lights.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I get my shades back on. You know what I'm saying? Not too much reflection. So it's a good day, good Monday.
All right. Well, good show lined up for us today. Today, actually, we got Besa from Cube 93. She's going to be joining us in a later segment, talking about this town hall that's coming up on Thursday. It looks like it's going to be a lot of heavy hitters in there on Thursday. You got the mayor, community people. You got council member Gurmai Zahalai, who actually has an interesting perspective. Even though he's a King County council member, the Central District and Skyway are both in his district. So then Thursday is going to be real big. That town hall is going to be carried right here on Converge, as well as broadcast on the iHeart stations, Cube 93 and on Hits. Also, we got a segment later on from Good Game Alert. Willard Jimerson Jr. sat down with Chief Adrian Diaz last week, and they talked about an issue that we talk about all the time, which is this epidemic of gun violence here in our community, in our neighborhood. The murder count in Seattle as a whole is just ridiculous. It's somewhere in the 40s, in the mid 40s right now. When you think there's only 52 weeks in a year, and so Willard Jimerson Jr. Sat down with Chief Adrian Diaz, talked about gun violence. And we'll play a segment of that, but the full episode of Good Game Alert airs tonight at 7 a.m. right here. So Willard's whole discussion with Chief Diaz. And then, it's a lot of other just news going on.
Yeah, always, man, always.
Man, it was interesting. Friday was wild, man. I woke up in the morning, saying it was free the postman. A few hours later, we had the mayor on here talking about her $100 million investment, and I was surprised. It was a lot of people who tuned in to that interview or either watched the replay of that interview.
Yeah, I heard a lot of great things all over the weekend. People saying how great the show was on Friday with the mayor. They're like, you guys were giving her the hard questions, man. You guys weren't letting up. I'm like, hey, well, we got to follow it for the community. We got to make sure that when we have someone like the mayor on, that we don't, just let up. And we have to press for the answers that the community has been asking for.
Well, also, we had 22 or 25 minutes scheduled with the mayor, and the mayor ended up going an hour. So,
Yeah.
She definitely didn't run away from him, which is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure we'll be talking to her again soon, especially her press conferences tomorrow, talking about the big announcement, putting some meat on the bones, as we say. That's our lead story today. It's the community reaction to the mayor and the announcement. A lot of it that came out here on the interview, here on the Morning Update show. And she also did some other releases around the city. But I talked to KY King Garrett of the Africatown Community Land Trust. He's also part of King County Equity Now. We did a kind of a reaction special last night, which was it was real interesting. Again, we were only supposed to go 30 minutes, and it went an hour with White King last night. But I got a clip right here where I asked him, what is it that he's going to be looking for on Tuesday when the mayor has her press conference?
What are you going to be looking for on Tuesday out of this announcement? What are some of the information, the data points around her program rollout that you're going to be interested in learning more about?
That's a great question. One, I would just say the data point, again, $100 million committed to the Black community needs to remain committed to the Black community to address all of the things. That's just a start, to address the things that she spoke to eloquently in terms of past practices, damages, exclusion, systemic, racism, et cetera, right? So that's the primary point, is that let's get back to what was said on June 7th, right? $100 million into the Black community. There are other needs across that spectrum of BIPOC, bring the resources to address that as well. But let's not bait and switch, what was said on June 7th in response to the movement for Black lives, right? And confuse that issue, right? And create chaos around what can we actually expect, right? So that's the primary point that I would like to stay focused on, and that people should encourage and, email and express again, their support for Black lives, for Black community. In order for Black lives to matter, Black communities have to matter, right? And we are facing extinction in Seattle, right? So if we want to course correct, we can't do that by, allocating resources to the problem and then dispersing those resources among, we don't even know what that data point would look like. But we know what $100 million to the Black community, we know it has to be somewhere in the Black community, right? And so that's what we're looking for first. I want to stay focused on getting us back and getting the mayor, back to that commitment. And I think that the thing she lays out, I think that was good, and being explicit and being clear. And we have to be just as clear and just as consistent when she says $100 million for the Black community goes to the Black community and does not get switched to BIPOC, which is very ambiguous.
All right. So first thing is, I wonder if White King ever whispers. but the second thing is that this issue, what I'm really finding is that the mayor made a commitment or a statement actually early on saying that these funds were actually going to go towards the Black community, and now what we're hearing is that it's BIPOC, and it's a lot of people in the Black community who really aren't too happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was something that I had definitely addressed as well when we had the mayor on, because it is something that we're hearing. It's really getting picked up kind of by the movement that this investment is going to BIPOC communities. And again, as White King just stated there, it's ambiguous. It's a bit too ambiguous for us to determine. And then the mayor's response to me, or to the question, was simply that, the task force would then decide. And I think this is why it's so important that folks understand that there are real issues with something like a mayor appointed task force in order to bring those investments into the community. It really needs to be community led, and not really in this regard of, kind of hand picking folks, but really allowing this kind of open process of, participatory budgeting. That's really what the community wants to see.
All right. And Sean Good from Choose 180, man. I mean, the mayor did her op-ed, and I guess Sean Good clapped back with his op-ed. If we could bring that up. Oh, yeah. And so in here, Sean Good was like, he basically called this thing a bootleg Rolex. I mean, and he said that he got asked to be on the task force. And what he was saying is he thought that an analogy, he thought that he would be helping to like bake the cake or choose the ingredients. But he said that at the end of the day, he was asked to be on the task force just to be the icing on the cake, and that everything else was already baked in. So you said, I read in the Seattle Times, you didn't even tell me, I had to learn from Dan Beekman. You were also asked to be on this task force. Why did you decline?
Really, I was asked to be on the task force. And for me, it goes back to this kind of handpicking, right? I understand that there are certain leaders in the community. There are certain organizations in the community. We see that. But what we're really seeing is this movement in terms of everybody's voice counts. And I think that that's what's important. And, for me, I really want to press for a participatory budgeting process. And I really want the mayor to understand that that's the demand of the people. That's the will of the people, right? They don't want a hand-picked, task force. They don't want a replication of historical approaches that really haven't led to huge investment in the Black community in particular, and very specifically, as White King stated. So that's why, really, I'm with the people, man, and the people really don't want that kind of approach. All
right, with the people, huh? And this is right here what why King, Sean Good, and Triana are referencing. This was actually put up on the mayor's website back, I believe, on June 7th. And it says in here in paragraph number 3, it says investing $100 million in community programs for Black youths and adults. So, yeah, I mean, it's right there. And, you know, I mean, the mayor explained her explanation in a sense makes sense. Like, man, all of these people got problems, basically. But, you know, I mean, so yeah, I think everybody agrees with that. But I think the community people were like, well, hey, you know what? If this thing is supposed to be for the Black community, then, you know, maybe going another route will dilute the actual end result. So we'll see what the mayor says. Big presser tomorrow. Everybody's, you know, waiting to see and hear all the details and actually learn about who's coming, who's going to be on this task force. Those are key decision makers. $100 million is a lot of money. It's a lot and not a lot at the same time. You know, for us, it's like it's a lot. But, you know, in the big scheme of things, $100 million, when you look, something like the Liberty Bank building costs like $40 million just to build. I mean, that's not even 3 Liberty Bank buildings. So
absolutely. And that I want to say too, that this is why anybody who, you know, says that they represent the community or that they are coming from a community perspective, I really want them to think twice, you know, if they're approached to be on this task force, that, hey, you know, this is about solidarity here, and standing together really puts the point home. It drives it home, as we can see with the movement, this swell, that it's really about the people power, guys. And at the end of the day, when we band together, we have the power to make things happen.
All right, so let me bring this up here real quick. Elizabeth Ludwig says, what kind of approach do you think would be acceptable? We're running short in this segment, but maybe you can share with Elizabeth the approach. I think you're talking about participatory budget and how that works. Quickly.
Yeah, really quickly. It just allows everyday individuals to be a part of the process, Elizabeth. At the end of the day, we don't want it to be some hand-picked task force. We really want it to be more of an open-ended process that allows for everyday people to be a part of the decision-making and how that budget and how that investment is going to affect their particular community.
Right. All right. And moving on, you see, it's two kind of big things right here that's kind of hogging the headlines, and that's the mayor on one side, and now King County Equity Now. King County Equity Now looks like they're stepping up the communications game out there. You know, trying to kind of. I think they're already communicating to our community, and now it looks like they're having an effort here to communicate to the larger community. King County Equity Now released this video here a few days ago.
We're not asking any longer. We have the solution, we have the coaches, we have the instructors, we have facilitators, we have the resources for you. The only thing that you have to do is grab a hold of it.
King County Equity Now is trying to wrap our arms around all the folks that are on the ground and give them an elevated platform.
People have been working really hard towards a new normal rooted in equity for a really long time.
The organizers that pull King County Equity Now, we already talk to each other on a regular basis. We're in community. There's no way I wasn't gonna be part of that.
The thing that pulled me into the movement was just this extremely beautiful focus on community.
Lawyers mixed with activists, mixed with organizers, mixed with educators, mixed with a ton of volunteers.
So many genius Black people that have been able to help me in my business, help me grow personally.
It's contagious. Somebody sees you're doing something that works, like, why would I not do that?
People talk about equity as if it has something to do with equality, but equity, you know, has everything to do with ownership. And that's what Wanawari is about.
This coalition is putting like predatory developers on notice and taking back land.
They were able to put pressure on the politicians.
These systems can change, and it's bullshit that they haven't yet.
Stopping more crime does not mean pointing guns at people. When people see what happens when you fund community, you're going to see that you don't need police.
This could be a roadmap for how we could operate in the future.
Our society will be the beginning of the shift and the reforms that we all need.
In a lot of ways, we're all fighting for our own survival, just together. We want to make sure this is a place that we feel like we still belong in 20 years.
50 years.
Well,
100 years.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that 100. I like that 100 years.
Yeah.
All right. I see your people are ramping up their communications campaign at the same time that the mayor's office is ramping up, her communications around this.
Yeah, absolutely. And just shout out to the over 600 volunteers or something that helped make that happen. That is literally a part of my work as creative director for King County Equity Now. So I'm excited that we're able to, really put our voice out there and really showcase to people what King County Equity Now really represents and what it's all about. Because I think there's been a lot of questions out there. So we want to make sure people understand how we're moving as a faction, how we're moving as a coalition, and together we can make this change happen. And also too, find out how they can bring their brilliance into the movement. As I'm always saying, there's a place for everybody here if you're really wanting to fight for equity. So bring your voice on.
Right. So now, as an observer, I would say that what I've seen is that you guys, King County Equity Now is now moving towards communicating beyond the community. And so that was like a reach for you. Like the community was like, oh, okay, cool, we get it. But then now on the flip side of that, you see like the mayor wanting to communicate. Everybody's had their struggles. King County Equity Now has had a struggle talking to people or reaching people beyond community. The mayor has had a problem penetrating her message into community. So it's interesting now that at the same time, everybody's getting their messaging out. And so we'll see whose messaging game, wins out. But yeah, no, I mean, it looks nice.
Thank you. Oh, it means a lot.
Man, I wanted to bring this up here. Our next slide. You can pop this one up here. Oh yeah, this is from the Urban Ace. Just wanted to bring this up, man. That always live tweeting a lot of our shows. So this was the live show last night. The Urban Ace was just on every single tweet with my conversation with White King. So appreciate your support. Appreciate the live tweeting and everything else. Wanted to move quickly to a discussion about the system. And if you recall and talked to Mayor Durkan the other day, and something I've been repeating is that the system works fine. We're just not included in the system. And for the people who know the system well, the system works great. Play the next clip for me, Alia.
Donald Trump's tax returns have finally been revealed in a bombshell report by the New York Times. True to form, the president has already strongly dismissed it. David Wowood is in the US. David, what has the president been paying in income tax?
Good morning, Anne. Yes, just $750. That's how much Donald Trump is alleged to have paid in federal taxes the year he was elected to the White House. After a long, bitter fight, the New York Times says it's finally been granted access to the president's tax records. Reports suggest he paid no income taxes at all in 10 of the previous 15 years, largely because he reported losing much more money than he actually made. Now, Donald Trump has long guarded his personal financial records, and today the president and billionaire came out swinging at the veracity of these reports.
It's fake news. It's totally fake news. Made up, fake. The IRS does not treat me well.
Yeah. So, I always like to get these foreign reports from these other countries like BBC or Australia, see what they're saying from the outside. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with President Trump and his taxes. But it very well could be is that, he's used the system. The system is working for him. And I mean, that very well might be a good example. They said that a lot of Trump supporters are saying exactly the same thing. Like, hey, man, don't be mad at him. He knows how to work the system or for the system to work. And, I thought it was interesting because, that's what we've been talking about is for the people that the system supports. The system works well, efficiently, man. No taxes, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? $750. I mean, system's working for him.
Man, clearly the system's working for him. Oh, and honestly, once again, there's a lot of tips and tricks within the system that have been utilized particularly by white folks, and that really design these kind of systems and tricks, these little tips and tricks to use. They put their kids on their credit cards as soon as they turn 12, so that by the time the kid is 18, the kid has a perfect credit score. And these are little things that a lot of the Black community, if they want to even say buy BIPOC community, a lot of folks didn't understand, right? So there's a lot of these kind of financial tips and tricks that are built within the system that have really, really created these vast disparities that we see in this country today. Again, these tips and tricks are what we need to either attack, or they need to be utilized by all people in order for them to be equitable.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll see what happens. It very well could be that he just knows the system very well and used the system appropriately and properly. But speaking of systems and, how these systems work and how they include people or exclude people, here was a clip unrelated, of course, to this Trump news that came out. But when we talked to Mayor Durkan last week about how some systems work for some people and then they don't work for others.
So I think the first thing that I and everyone have to do is acknowledge and admit that exactly what you said is true. It's not that the system didn't work. It's that it worked exactly like it was designed. It was designed to benefit certain people and exclude certain people. And it was done for generations.
Yeah. So, and you got to remember, that's our mayor now, but she's a former federal prosecutor. Chooses all the words wisely. You know what I'm saying? She's there like, the system doesn't work for everybody. But we'll see what happens on this. But, it's real interesting because people who know how to work the system, when the system works for them, it works well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why there's so many folks that are really working in the community to educate folks on a lot of these financial tips and tricks. We know that insurance industry is another one of them, that really creates generational wealth in white communities. But that's a huge drop off and huge disparity in the Black community when you do the comparative analysis of the statistics. So once again, there's a lot of financial tips that needs to come into the Black community in order for us to have equity, because you are so right. Systemically, those tips and tricks have been built into the system, and really they've been kept out of the information of a lot of Americans. So agreed.
Right. And real quick, but we're running late today, and we got Besa back there backstage. But I need to bring this up. Next one here is that this ATF agent, Cheryl Bishop. And actually, Cheryl, you go ahead and put that one up. Cheryl Bishop had won a $450,000 settlement against the ATF, man, for all kinds of stuff over there. Basically, it was an issue with some another agent there who was working undercover with the neo-Nazis and had the Nazi tattoos. His name is Bradford Delvin. It's not convoluted, but it's a lot to it. But basically, you can read more about it at the Seattle Times. Sued for $450,000, but now what she's saying is that the actual work environment hasn't changed. So even though there was a lawsuit and everything else, and the ATF settled, she said that it's still a very toxic and racist environment at the ATF. You can read more about that at the Seattle Times. And what we have here next, this is something that I thought was real interesting, Trey, is that, I was talking about, we're always talking about how the CD used to be and how the CD, what it was like and everything else and all this kind of stuff from back in the day. And, when people don't see it, it's hard for them to believe or understand it. And I put these photos in last night in a discussion. And just to build some context, when I interviewed with the mayor, you heard the mayor say when she was a kid, how the Central District was this and that, and it was thriving and businesses and everything else. And go ahead and play this one here, all you. What this is, there you go. What this is Gideons Pharmacy and Soda Fountain. This is 75 years ago in the CD. Look at that. And that's right down 21st and 22nd in Madison. And so, this was all Black people right there on that neighborhood. Go there, long before, Baskin & Robbins or even Molly Moon's, you go there and get your ice cream far before Starbucks and everything else. And Mr. Gideon also was a founder of the East Madison Mardi Gras. This 75 years ago, and which is now, went to the Black Community Festival and now the Emoji Fest. So, we can look back through our history in the Central District and see a thriving history, a thriving business district and everything else, man.
Yeah. Beautiful to see and beautiful to witness as part of the the history that we have to remember. I think that this is the resilience that so many people are experiencing in the Black community is, when we did stories just about those towns of the roaring 20s, showcasing how Black people had so much resilience, and this idea that statistically, we'd have zero wealth in 2050, there is not something that a lot of people can stand by. So seeing that once again is another example of things that we can stand on, in terms of standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Beautiful reminder. Oh.
Yeah, and big shout out to Stephanie Johnson Tolliver at the Black Heritage Society of Washington State for those photos. And actually, we've got a lot. I've been working with Stephanie for a long time. We've got a lot of content that we're gonna put out there because, I think that you can't expect people to really understand if they don't see your vantage point or viewpoint. And it's easy to go to a lot of other neighborhoods in Seattle, and a lot of that economic district is still the same. It's it's unchanged, or it's grown over time. And now ours is almost non-existent. So we can only show people through photo and video and everything else. So I'm gonna continue. I think we might try to put some kind of series here together, even if it's just for Instagram, about our historically what was going on in the Central District. So
yeah, it needs to happen. Yeah, it needs to happen, man. I was actually talking to Stephanie about something similar, so we'll make it happen. We'll figure out a way to get our history out there.
All right, and our last segment for this section is as you can tell, man, I'm out of the studio and I'm on the road. I'm actually back down here in South Carolina at the moment. Attending another funeral, close family friend. There's 2 weekends in a row in South Carolina, actually almost very close to the same city. But I had an opportunity to stop into Rocky Mount, North Carolina yesterday and see my dad and my stepmom, Paulette. And, the last time I was there, they were telling me, how much they love watching the morning update show, but they watch it on their cell phone. They're in their 70s and watch it on the cell phone. Like, dang, Dad, you got some good eyes. They watch it on the cell phone, and he's got a TV, but it's one of the old, it's not one of these smart TVs. I told him, I said, Dad, I'm gonna come back down here, and man, we gonna put one of these smart TVs, because he said he just loves to watch the morning update show. And my stepmom Paulette, she just started chemotherapy. She's in her stage 2 breast cancer. And again, every time I go down there, I'm always thinking it's going to be some, doom, gloom, or whatever. These guys, man, it's mad inspiring. And all they wanted to do, again, was talk about the morning update show. But just put a little short video together here of my time yesterday at my dad's house in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. What's up, Pop? Doing the family thing, huh?
Tart cherry barbecue sauce.
Tart cherry barbecue sauce, huh? So what we doing here, Pop?
Get ready for the morning update.
Yeah. You gotta put a TV in here so you don't have to watch the show on your phone, right? All right, that was Rocky Mountain, North Carolina yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Got a chance to spend a few hours with my dad and my stepmom. So, you know, it's always special to be able to spend some time down there. And these guys big morning update show fans.
Oh my gosh, like literally the best fans ever, always watching. And I love your dad's emoji that he uses with the like all the symbols. He's got the eyes that are doing this with all the parentheses. I just love it because I know when I see that, I know it's your dad. And just shout out to them, always giving us so much support and love. I wish I could meet them because I am so honored that they watch us every day like they do. Oh, so dedicated. It's so super cool that you were out there like that and did that for your pops, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will meet them soon. We're gonna take a short break right now. When we come back, we got Besa in the building. You know what I'm saying? From the community first. You know what I'm saying? From whatever. These are companies come and go, but community stays. So we got Besa from the community, who's also at Cube 93. When we come back, we're talking about this big town hall that's going down on Thursday night with the mayor, with a lot of different community members, some elected officials. We're gonna take a short break right now. We'll be right back. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
ConvergeMedia produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support ConvergeMedia today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at ConvergeMedia.
Hey, you sound good on there, Trey.
Hey, thank you. You know what I'm saying? My little voiceover work, buddy. You know what I mean? Got it. A lot.
I'm about to say, I sound rough and gruff on my man, ConvergeMedia. So you sound all smooth and everything. Do we got Besa in the building? Is Besa here? There she go. What's happening?
How are you guys?
Good. What's up with you?
Good. I'm good. I'm healthy. No COVID, so I still got a job. You're not getting no complaints out of me right now.
You doing better than most. Hey, Besa, just for quick before we jump into everything, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you're a very big personality in this city, but we do have an audience here who might not be aware of you. Maybe you can tell everybody about Besa.
Well, Besa is a girl from Seattle. I grew up in the CD, and like most Black people, eventually my whole family got moved out south. Like, I think when I really think about it, I'm actually my only blood relative that now lives back in Seattle. And I just moved back to Seattle in February. I am the night host on Cube 93.3. Cube is my first radio job ever. I started from the ground up in the company as a street tamer, moved my way into the office. And then once the opportunity came for me to be on the radio, I was like, yo, what do I need to do to get on Cube? Because I grew up listening to the station and it was just like, you know what? I'm here. I might as well go for it. So now I do my night show. And one thing that I've really always wanted to do is find a way to reconnect Cube to the community, because everyone's like, Cube doesn't support the community. Cube doesn't support the community. And it's like, okay, well, what can we do? So doing this town hall is like one way that I think that we are kind of able to re-enter ourselves into the community and kind of start doing positive things. But otherwise, I'm just a girl from Seattle that's trying to make it, y'all.
All right. Now, and when you talk about community and wanted to bridge a gap between Cube and community, old school Seattle people like me, we go all the way back with Cube 93, back with Ackerley, back to Chet Buchanan. You know what I'm saying? The Chet Buchanan days and the Eric Powers days and this and that. And it's always kind of been like this. It ain't quite all been there. I'll just leave it at that. And so it's really good to see that somebody like yourself is in the mix, you know what I'm saying, who is saying that. And I found this here and I want to kind of play it because this isn't something that you're just saying right now with, everything that's going on in the streets. This is actually something that you've been saying for a while.
Yeah.
Now, you've been here for, for a little while now. Where do you see your career going and why? In Seattle.
In Seattle, I definitely want a weekday daytime spot for my career, but I kind of just want to be like for one, I want to be myself. I don't ever want to, I don't know, I've never really been good at going into spaces that are already there. I'm pretty good at just creating my own little gap, if you will.
Right.
And so I definitely want to help connect Cube 93.3 back to the community of color out here in ways that are beyond music. You know what I mean? Like, music is great. Like, don't get me wrong. The hip-hop community needs their attention also, but we still need to have these conversations with the black communities. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Charlamagne the God does it, so why can't we?
Right. I mean, I think you sound like a little advocate to me right now. I'm loving hearing that.
I
don't know. I'm loving what I'm hearing. I mean, the way you said it, Charlamagne's doing it. Why can't we do it? I think right now is a time that they need a spokesperson, and I'm thinking you lean towards that.
Maybe. I mean, I don't really like labels like that because I feel like when you, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but sometimes I feel like when you put the label, I'm a spokesperson for this, like I don't know, like there's this extra weight that's put on you.
Gotcha.
And I just like to do what makes sense for me and what feels natural for me, and I like to just say what freely comes out, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to say I'm just doing things all off the whim, but if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right.
Look at you. I mean, you. One, like I said, is good to hear that kind of voice come out of Cube, because it, at least for a long time, we ain't really hear it like that, saying that or really, I think the intentions have been there, but this gap, this bridge has never kind of been built, and so it's good to see. It's unfortunate that it's taken what's happening right now. You know what I'm saying? For maybe the higher ups to kind of understand that these are communications and relationships that need to be happening. You got a massive platform over there at iHeart, and this is real life issues.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, and I hopefully this won't be the last thing, because like you said, I don't want for there to be another situation of, Cube doesn't do anything for community and we only want to do something when, it looks good for us. You know what I mean? I definitely want to find a way to make this be continuous.
So maybe you can tell everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trey.
No, I just was going to say that that's awesome. And I also like that you were saying it's not just about music, right? It's also about utilizing that platform for things that are really just important to community. So I just wanted to say shout out to you for that, because I appreciate that. A lot of the times people think radio is synonymous with music, and, Cube has done a really great job cementing itself kind of in the music space. But I think you're so right in terms of really utilizing it to share what the talent we have here is, what their life story is and their background. So getting a little bit outside of it. I love that.
Thank you.
So Besa, tell us, Thursday is the big town hall. I see it's you and a lot of other big timers up there talking about what's going on in the city. Maybe you can tell everybody what's happening.
Yeah, so this Thursday, Cube, Elysian, ConvergeMedia, and South Seattle Emerald. We're all putting together a historic town hall. As I kind of said in the commercial, it's time for us to sit down and have a conversation. There's just legit, if you ask me, there's way too much going on, way too much miscommunication. And by having community leaders like, say, White King will be on there, Nikita Oliver will be there, Omari's gonna pop in, Marcus Green is co-hosting it with me, but we also have Gurmai Zahalai. He's the only Black councilman that we have out here in Seattle. And then on top of that, we will have Mayor Jenny Durkan and her team. And I think that is a huge thing, because for me, it's what you say and what you write down. One of the things that I said when I was on air talking about CHOP, I was like, this is great, but what policies do you guys want? Because right now you're just kind of tearing up the city. So where are we going with this? And for me, with the mayor saying things like, I'm going to put $100 million into the Black community, it's like, okay, so I want to see this in writing. I want to see who's going to help you do this. I want to see what your timeline is. And without asking those questions, how are you ever going to hold anyone accountable? So I think this is the perfect time for everyone to make sure they're submitting their questions, because I think it's important for people to know this is not going to be just a thing of me asking my questions. Like, I want your questions too. I want to know what you want to know, what the mayor is going to do for the Black community and what community leaders are currently doing or have done.
Right. And actually, we're going to have a form probably this afternoon. So people will be able to go to our website where we converge. Also, we'll tweet it out. And so people will be able to submit questions there. I think what makes Thursday very unique, and even with the word historic, is the fact that you hear the mayor communicate through her platforms and her kind of way. You hear King County Equity Now through their way, Africa Town through their way, and even a council member like Zahalai through his way. This is the first time that everybody is going to be on one platform. And so this is really to do a service for the general public, for the citizen stakeholders of the Emerald City, because they'll really get to be able to hear people's ideas and their vision for the future, all in one setup. You sit there for like 2 or 3 hours, you hear everything the mayor's saying, you hear everything, some of these community people are saying. You're able to kind of make up your own mind from there, because it's not disjointed like the way that it is right now. Are you any inhibitions about hosting? Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, being in the middle of anything here is a hot seat, man. It's hot out here.
What I will say is, with the whole chop thing, and every once in a while I would give my true honest thoughts on air, and then I would get little DMs and comments, and I was like, oh, sorry,
you better know about it.
Honestly, it just kind of really is what it is. I think I'm at a point in my life where it's like, look, I'm either going to put myself out there and ask these questions for the community, or I'm just going to sit here and continuously be quiet and talk crap to my friends. Like, I could sit here and be like, oh, why didn't the news reporter ask that? Or I could ask him my damn self.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of that, let's get your opinion on a few things. So we've got a clip here.
You want my thoughts?
Yeah, we got a clip here from King 5. Actually, they did some protest coverage over the weekend, and so we'll play this. And I just want to get your thoughts on things.
And we're outside of City Hall because police say that these demonstrators, they wound in and around the city. They were in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, but this is some of the damage outside of City Hall. A lot of it we cannot show you because of profane language. But like I said, they said they went all over the city. They were breaking windows, spray painting buildings, things like that. Here's actually video from last night's clash with police that was sent to us. According to a social media post about the protest, this was in solidarity with other cities protesting for racial justice. Now, on Capitol Hill, the video you're looking at, demonstrators there created a barrier between them and police by lighting dumpsters on fire. Police say the Seattle Fire Department was called in to extinguish that fire. Now, in this video, you can see the police approaching the group. Police say they issued a dispersal order. They used blast balls to move the crowd, but in this video, you can really see both groups are aggressively shoving each other. Protesters are throwing things and lighting off fireworks. Eventually, the crowd broke up. What police are telling us is that 10 people were arrested and that there was some damage, as I mentioned, throughout the different neighborhoods.
All right. So the types of protests could continue, up on Capitol Hill. A big discussion, at least in people in our community that I talk to, the Black community, is, are the protests in Seattle still representative of the value of Black lives? Is it about Black lives mattering, or is it about something else? Is the message still strong, or has it been co-opted?
I feel like the problem is, and this is just my opinion as someone in media, the media only covers the bad stuff. When King County Equity is doing a protest, they're not really covering that to where you're seeing all of these people gathering together, having positive conversations and making positive plans. But what they do show is people screaming F the police. They show all the big smoke. They show all of the fights. They show the riots, to where, in my opinion, when people think protest, they're not thinking a group of people that's trying to make a difference. They're thinking a group of people that's in their area that's about to break windows, and now Whole Foods is going to close early. I just feel like I don't feel like the message is totally lost, but I can see how for some people that don't watch both sides, it could potentially be lost for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can say this is that Converge is the only video platform we've covered. I mean, clearly people are seeing covered down there in the front line, but we've covered every single peaceful protest. On the other side of the protest, we just want to live. All the protests there on Jackson, all the protests there on Othello, So if anybody is looking for coverage on both sides, please stay tuned here to Converge, because we give you, we give you some of everything. We give you a whole lot of that funk too. But it's after Bobby Steele's getting snatched up down there, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole other story. All right, so let's move on here. Breonna Taylor, clearly with that decision coming out, and it looks like that might get funky as well. They're talking about how the indictment was upside down and everything else. But as a Black woman, what are some of your thoughts about this, about Breonna Taylor and some of the fallout around it?
I think as a Black woman, one, with the whole Breonna Taylor thing, I made some notes. I feel like the case has reminded me that we have a lot of jacked up laws that need to be changed. Like, I don't think anyone was really thinking about no-knock warrants before then, or at least not on this big of a scale. I also learned that cops can get indicted for missing their target. But on the other end, it kind of made me think about people that might be in a situation like Breonna Taylor was. It's unfortunate when you are basically hanging around the wrong people and then you end up being the one that gets the worst of it, because she should still be here. She was working at a hospital, minding her own business. She was doing what she was supposed to do. And then it seemed like her past that she was moving away from kind of came back to bite her. And as much as I blame the police, I blame him for putting her in that situation to where they could even find her.
Mm-hmm. All right, interesting perspective there. And before we let you go, you're always talking about finding a peaceful place in your Zen and your Wusa. Do you got any tips for people as far as, especially these times right now, man? It's a lot going on.
Personally, I meditate daily. So when I wake up in the morning, I will lay in bed and I'll think about how I want my day to be. I visualize the vibes that I want. Maybe it's a day where I just want to be relaxed. Maybe it's a day where I just want to be extremely productive. So I just kind of like visualize that, and even will visualize conversations. I don't know if anyone has ever gone to a meeting and then all of a sudden you're super anxious and then the meeting might not go the way that you want it to, but sometimes if you visualize the meeting as going smooth, everyone having a conversation, that's typically what you end up asking the universe for, if you will. I say protect your space, protect your energy, log off of social media from time to time, mind your business, work out. And for me, in terms of like staying focused on my goals, I've been rereading Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. Just because I do suffer really bad from anxiety. So sometimes I just won't do something that will be good for me and good for taking me to another level, just because my anxieties are like, no, I'm nervous. I don't want to do this. So reading a book like Year of Yes, where even someone on the level of a Shonda Rhimes is like, oh my God, I was nervous to talk to Oprah. It kind of makes it to where my anxieties are not that major.
All right, good stuff. And now Town Hall is Thursday from 6 to 9. Yep. And, of course, everybody, wherever you're watching this show right now, you'll be able to watch that Town Hall. But where else can people catch the Town Hall, Besa?
It will be on Cube socials. It will be on Elysian socials, obviously Converge socials. I would say it'll be on mine, but I don't think I'll be able to live stream on my socials while I'm doing that. Just saying.
All right. Oh, and when can people catch you on air on Cube?
7 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday.
You be every playing. So I'm down south right now, and every down south radio station, it's a slow jam show. Slow jams with the big O.
But see, it's unfortunate that out here that's not really the kind of music that the average person listens to. Like people I don't know why, but KZOK, which is a rock station, does extremely well in Seattle, along with this classical station. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like Seattle doesn't really do well with R&B, but I love it for R&B.
All right, Besa. Well, we love you too. Thanks for taking some time with us, and look forward to linking back up with you Thursday at 6:00 for the historic town hall.
Yes.
Thanks, Besa.
Bye.
All right, we're gonna take a break right now. When we come back, we got some clips from Willard Jimerson Jr. Willard Jimerson Jr. sat down with Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz. The gist of the conversation on Good Game Alert, which is airing tonight at 7:00, was to put a focus on the uptick in gun violence that's occurring in our community in Seattle and South King County. We're gonna take a short break. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
ConvergeMedia produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support ConvergeMedia today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at ConvergeMedia.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury.
And I am Trey Holiday.
Yay, holiday! What's happening?
What's going on, big O?
All right, I'm gonna tell you, man, you beaming under them like, man, the lights is just yada.
Yeah, the lights got me today, man. I appreciate this, man. I don't know what we're gonna do the rest of the week. We're gonna figure it out.
All right. Big shout out to Besa. There was a whole lot of Black girl magic going on that last segment.
I know, man. Besa's dope, man. And honestly, it's great to have somebody at Cube that's from the community, because I love her lens and her approach. You know what I'm saying? So this town hall is going to be lit. I'm excited for this on Thursday, man.
And she ain't got no filter either. So, you know what I'm saying? It's a good thing. All right. So we got this clip right here. It's about 5 minutes, but this is Willard Jimerson Jr. and he's talking to Seattle Police Chief Diaz. And this segment right here is about Breonna Taylor and Charlene Lyles. But the whole episode airs tonight at 7:00. Good Game Alert. And the focus of it is, I know there's protests going on. Anything people hear police, they automatically think protest. But in our community, as well, the Black community here in Seattle and in South King County, man, people are dying almost every week, and sometimes a few people a week. This epidemic of gun violence is totally out of control. Anyways, we'll play this clip right here. This is Willard Jimerson Jr. Talking to Seattle Police Chief Diaz about Breonna Taylor and Charlene Lyles.
Earlier part, we talked about Breonna Taylor. Yeah. I know that that has caught nationwide, global attention just as much as George Floyd and other different disparities that come with Black and brown populations, and you being even part of the brown population, one of my brown brothers, let's just be honest. Yeah. How has that impacted you on a personal level with the situation going on with Breonna Taylor, as much as what you know about the situation? And then what is going on in, SPD to kind of do their work to say, we do not want another circumstance or situation to be like, what we're seeing in the Breonna Taylor situation, that is pretty much almost similar to Charlene Lyles, So how has it impacted you on a personal level, and what are some of the structural things that SPD is thinking about around this as well?
You look at George Floyd, you look at Breonna Taylor, and we know in those cases, they're tragic. They shouldn't have happened. You could try to talk about how you could justify all sorts of different aspects of it, but at the end of the day, you lost people's lives, and that's what we've got to figure out. How do you get down to realizing that everybody has a story and everybody is a human, and that they should have a certain level of humanity and respect for that humanity? I always say, I have a coin in my pocket that says, what you do matters. And I think as being the chief of the police department, I have to know that what I do and what decisions I make and how I push down, what I envision for training, what I envision out of expectations from my officers. That means that if an officer does wrong, that I hold them accountable, that that they know that action isn't going to be tolerated. So other officers don't feel like, oh, well, shoot, so-and-so got away with this, so I can do this. No, I have to know that there's a huge level of robust accountability in our police department. And at the end of the day, I make that decision. If I have to terminate people, I'm going to terminate people. Even in the short time that I've had this job, I've already had to make that decision of terminating people. And I'm willing to do that because I have to know that when officers' actions are not acceptable, I have to not have them in this department. When I have to make that determination, I don't want that badge to actually be used in circulation. I'm taking that badge off because that right there is a huge level of distrust in the community, because to me that represents all of what is wrong in the police department. And so I can't have that badge out in service. And so I think that's what you want in a police department. You want a chief that people can say, you know what, they're working on making change. They're going to change for the better to serve our communities in a much more equitable and just manner, and that chief has our best interest, that he is going to end up representing. He's going to make those decisions, and maybe not everything that people are going to agree with me upon, but that's all right. I know that his heart is going to do the right thing, and so I think that's really what matters when I look at how we move our police department forward, how we serve our community. When we look at cases like Breonna Taylor, when we look at cases like George Floyd, you have to then say, gosh, this cannot happen. We've got to be better at it. And I always tell people, like, I own the history of policing, I own the now, and I own the future of it. So when I look at what this police department will be in 10 years, maybe I'm not around in 10 years, I don't know, but I have to then look back and say, to that coin message, what I did mattered. It's the legacy, right? And how I move that department forward to better serve people. And I think that's what's going to matter in my term. I think that's going to matter in how Louisville moves forward, how Minneapolis moves forward. Those are what the community is going to expect and say, okay, I don't ever want that police department to do that again. How are you going to actually make it better for my community? How are you going to make it better for the Black and brown community? And what are you going to do that's going to be different? Or if it isn't going to be different, then we're going to have issues, and we're going to hold people accountable, and holding myself accountable as well.
All right, so that's Chief Diaz there. The whole interview is about an hour. It airs at 7 p.m. today. I misspoke in the introduction there. I thought this part was about Charlena. It was about Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. But the whole interview, 7 o'clock, wherever you're watching us right now, you'll be able to watch Good Game Alert with Willard Jimerson, Seattle Police Chief Diaz, and really conversation on something that's also impacting our community. And for a lot of people in our community, this is gun violence in the Central District is, this is a top priority. I think that a lot of community leaders there declared a state of emergency on the streets, almost 2 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, shout out that, that Willard Jimerson was able to get this perspective. I think it's so important, again, that we hear from folks like Chief Diaz, and that, you were doing the work with Chief Carmen Best, that we actually hear from these people so we can understand their perspective and also build that bridge. I think one of the things that Converge is inherently doing, and maybe didn't even realize that they were doing it, but giving, all of these people, these elected officials, folks like Chief Diaz and the mayor, and others that are outside the community that have these positions of power, giving them this platform to come on, tell us what what's in your head, what your perspective is, what's your approach going to be. That really helps the people build trust and get to know a lot of these people, because otherwise we wouldn't. So I think you're right. I'm just glad that Willard was able to sit down with Chief Diaz and get his perspective.
Yeah, well, the other part is we just got to hold people accountable.
Yes, brother.
Perspective is cool, but and that's true. And we do get perspective. We got to hold people accountable. The chief of police works for all of Seattle, and our community. And a lot of what Willard is inquiring about is about what what things are occurring there on the police side, as far as gun violence in Seattle. And, I mean, it's just like, we got to hold, this is what we're here for. Is to hold people accountable for our community. So anyways, it's 7 o'clock. It's a different kind of show though. Our show here is more of a news show. And what Willard's show was designed. Good game, alert. Game is like slang for information. So, good game is like good information. You log into his show. Really, it's a show designed to communicate to the marginalized community here in Seattle. So before we get out of here, we've got one more segment. It's Melanin Monday, and Nikki Barron, she's out there with this music. I think this is the second week in a row, but she just went right next door because downtown right now. She went right next door to the Central Saloon, which is the oldest bar in Seattle, right down there in Pioneer Square, and she caught up with Breaks and Swells rock band. And yeah, these guys were getting it in down there. And actually, it's a program that's going on with Big Building Seattle and Seattle Startup. What's the Seattle Startup Showground? And basically, what it is something we were doing a long time ago, but they do it much better. Remember, we were live streaming Goodie Bag. But these guys, their setup is way better. We see if we get Goodie Bag down there and their setup downtown. Definitely. But this is Melanin Monday, and this is Breaks and Swells, produced by Nikki. No, we don't have it. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we don't have it. So I guess it'll be Melanin Magic on Tuesday, and we'll play that tomorrow. So we're gonna get ready to get out of here then. And just a reminder that at 7 o'clock tonight, Good Game Alert, Willard Jimerson and Chief Diaz, and then Thursday. Big day, 6 o'clock Thursday at 6 p.m. We're doing the historic town hall. So you got Mayor Jenny Durkan, you've got Nikita Oliver, KY King Garrett, you've got King County Council Member Gurmai Zahalai. Also, I've been talking to School Board Director Hersey. Not sure if we got a confirmation I am yet, but also you might have Director Hersey there as well. So it'll be an interesting week. This will be the first time we hear everybody on the same platform discussing their ideas. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, shout out, I just want to say I'm on your computer, so I get to see all the comments people are doing. I'm like, how does do this? But, one person said here, Lord Gregory said, Converge is doing the work. Who's even asking these people real questions besides Converge? And I just want to say shout out to you, Lloyd, for saying that, because I think that he's absolutely right. And I think that once again, really bringing Converge into, it's like a merge of the community and like all of the information, man, and all the news. It is beautiful, man.
All right, I'll take that. And like I said, before we get out of here as well, I also want to say thank you to everybody who's been a supporter of Converge or a subscriber, either on Patreon or on Facebook. Like we 100% operate off of donations. You know what I'm saying? So, if you feel like you want to give, go for it. You can check us out. Go to our website, whereweconverge.com. But, we also accept positive vibes and prayers. And a lot of times it gets so funky out there, man, I'll take the prayers over money any day just so I can make it home all right. Right. So anything positive is welcome. But just want to tell you, man, that appreciate your support. And, I'm hoping everybody out there has a wonderful week.
Absolutely. Agreed. And ditto. Appreciate all of you guys. I'm loving to see this swell and getting so many great messages into my inbox too. People like, keep it up, keep up the good work. That's what this is all about. So thank you all.
All right. I think you're already standing, Trey. I got to figure out.
Man.
Now I understand your struggle. It's like, how do I stand? How do I change the camera?
Which way do you do it? Yeah.
I'm up over here now. So until tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the morning show, peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmony. mercy. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.